They say some secrets are buried for a reason. Not in the soft earth, but in the cold, fireproof vaults of institutions that outlive men. They are sealed in the rustle of aging paper, in the silent consent of those who chose to forget. What you are about to hear is one such secret. It was never meant for your ears. It is a story that has been methodically erased, its edges burned away by time and power, leaving only a scar on history that few can see. We are going to press our fingers into that scar. We are going to feel the shape of the wound beneath. They built the walls of St. Mary's Convent to keep the world out, but the true purpose of those limestone blocks was to keep the screams in. What happened behind those walls between 1854 and 1862 was not just a tragedy. It was a system, a machine of psychological and spiritual destruction, so perfect in its design. It ran for 8 years, consuming lives in plain sight, protected by the very symbols of piety and grace. This is not a ghost story. The horrors of St. Mary's were inflicted by human hands, guided by human minds, and covered by human silence. And in learning of it, you become part of it. This knowledge is a key, and once you turn it, the door you open can never be closed again. That we begin in the autumn of 1854, on the edge of a wilderness. The Wisconsin air is sharp, carrying the scent of pine and the damp chill of Lake Michigan. Into this landscape of stern Protestant farmers and rugged lumbermen arrives a vision of alien piety. A procession of women in black habits, their faces pale against the dark wool, their purpose a mystery to the local populace. They are the founders of St. Mary's Convent, an ambitious new foothold for the Catholic Church on the American frontier. Leading them is Mother Superior Catherine Murphy, a woman forged in the crucible of Boston's rigid hierarchy. She is tall, her face a mask of serene authority, but her eyes a startling pale blue mist-nothing. They are the eyes of a predator disguised as a shepherd. Flanking her are her lieutenants. Sister Elizabeth Foster, plump and maternal, her smile a constant, reassuring presence, destined to run the orphanage. She is the honey that will make the poison go down. And Sister Margaret Clark, gaunt and severe, a master of herbal remedies and tinctures, tasked with the infirmary. Her hands are long and nimble, her knowledge of chemistry profound. She is the architect of the coming silence. Among the 20 younger nuns is Sister Agnes O'Connor, fresh from Ireland, her faith as bright and untested as her 23 years. Her letters home will become our first map into the darkness, a trembling hand drawing the path into the labyrinth. The local families watch the convents rise with a mixture of suspicion and grudging respect. The tolling of the bell 7 times a day, the strange drone of Latin chants, the self-sufficiency of the nuns, it is all foreign, yet undeniably effective. The orphanage takes in the children of fallen laborers. The infirmary heals the sick with Sister Margaret's surprisingly potent remedies. The facade is flawless. Inside, the rhythm of life is prayer, work, and silence. A discipline designed to purify the soul, to strip away the self, and leave only God. But for the young nuns, far from home, this discipline feels different. It is a cold, creeping fog. Mother Catherine's sermons, once inspiring, now carry a chilling undertone. She speaks of sacrifice, but her eyes linger on the prettiest faces. She speaks of obedience, but her corrections for minor infractions grow increasingly severe. Sister Agnes, in a letter to her brother, writes of the beauty of the Wisconsin landscape, but also of the profound loneliness that the constant prayer cannot seem to fill. Mother Catherine assures us that our devotion is a fortress, she writes, the ink smudged as if by a tear. But sometimes, in the dead of night, I feel less like a soldier of Christ and more like a prisoner. She does not yet know how true this is. She is one of the first to be chosen. The winter of 1855 descends like a shroud, burying the landscape in feet of snow and isolating the convent completely. It is in this frozen silence that the machine begins its true work. The veneer of piety starts to crack, revealing the cold steel of control beneath. Mother Catherine's rule becomes absolute. A dropped prayer book, a whispered word out of turn, a momentary lapse in posture during the hours of kneeling on the stone floor. All are met with punishments that border on torture. One evening, Sister Josephine Brady accidentally coughs during the great silence after Convent. Her penance is to kneel for hours on dried peas in a cold storeroom, reciting the rosary until her knees are raw and bleeding. When Sister Mary Collins tries to help her back to her cell, Mother Catherine appears as if from the shadows, her voice a whip crack in the quiet hall. Her pain purifies her. "Your pity pollutes you both," she says, her pale eyes locking. On to Mary's. Learn from her correction, or you will share in it. The other nuns learn the lesson well. They move like ghosts, eyes downcast, their community of faith transformed into a collection of isolated, terrified individuals. They learn that Sister Elizabeth's gentle smile does not reach her eyes when she reports an infraction, and that Sister Margaret's remedies can be used not just for healing, but for punishment, inducing nausea and weakness in those who show the slightest spark of defiance. In April, with the spring thaw, the first gear of the machine audibly turns. Sister Agnes O'Connor fails to appear for matins. The absence of her clear, bright voice in the pre-dawn chants is a jarring silence. In the refectory, the other nuns cast nervous glances at her empty seat. Mother Catherine stands before them, her expression unreadable. Sister Agnes has been called to a special mission, she announces, her voice smooth and final. The bishop has recognized her unique spirit and requested her assistance with our new outreach to the native tribes in Minnesota. Her departure was sudden, as God's call often is. We will pray for her success. A spoon clatters against a bowl. It is Sister Bernadette Walsh, Anne's closest friend. But she said nothing. Bernadette stammers. Her things? Mother Catherine's eyes fix upon her, and the cold in them freezes the words in Bernadette's throat. Are you questioning the will of the bishop, Sister Bernadette? Or perhaps the will of God himself? The question hangs in the air, heavy and sharp as an executioner's axe. No, Mother, Bernadette whispers, her gaze falling to the table. Forgive me. No one else speaks. But the question remains unspoken. Minnesota? Without a word. Of farewell? The official story is a seamless fabrication, but the small details betray it. That evening, as they prepare for bed in the long, cold dormitory, the nuns notice that Sister Amy's few possessions are gone: her prayer book, her spare stockings, the small wooden cross her mother had given her. It seems she did indeed. Pack and leave. But Sister Mary Collins, whose cot was next to Agnes's, knows something is wrong. She remembers the night before, how Agnes had been weeping silently, terrified of a private meeting she was to have with Mother Catherine. And she remembers seeing Amy's heavy wool cloak, the one essential for travel to the fierce Minnesota. Frontier still hanging on its peg this morning. Would she have left without it? Sister Mary whispers her concern to Sister Teresa Donovan in the garden the next day, their hands deep in the cold earth as they plant beans. They said she was given a new one for the journey. Teresa whispers back, her eyes darting towards the convent windows, where Sister Margaret often stood, watching. We must not speculate, Mary. It is a sin. It is dangerous. But the seed of doubt has been planted. The fear is no longer a vague mist. It has a name. It is the name of their missing sister, Agnes. The unspoken question now is not where she went, but if she ever left the convent grounds at all. 3 months later, the machine claims its next victim. This time, it is Sister Bernadette Walsh, the nun who dared to question. The story is the same, with only the details changed. A delicate matter in Chicago, Mother Catherine explains at breakfast. The bishop himself has requested her assistance in establishing a new foundling home. Her skills with the orphans are desperately needed. This time, Sister Elizabeth provides the corroborating details, her warm maternal voice lending a heartbreaking credibility to the lie. She was so excited, Elizabeth says, her eyes crusted with what appears to be the sorrow of a fond farewell. She left before dawn to catch the early train. We must all be proud of her. The remaining nuns listen in silence. Two of the brightest, most vibrant souls among them, gone in a matter of months. A pattern is emerging. It is the young, the pretty, the ones with a light in their eyes that Mother Catherine seems so intent on extinguishing. The convent, once a place of shared purpose, is becoming a hunting ground. The daily prayers for the sick and the poor now feel like a bitter irony as the nuns pray silently for their own survival, wondering who will be next to receive a sudden divine calling from which no one ever returns. By the winter of 1855, the disappearances have become a horrifying rhythm, a drumbeat of dread marking the passage of seasons. 3 more young nuns vanish. One is supposedly sent to a mission in Ohio, another to a teaching position in St. Louis, a third to a leper colony in Louisiana, always to places too distant for easy verification, always with a plausible story that crumbles under the slightest scrutiny. Letters from worried families to these new assignments go unanswered for months, and when a reply finally arrives, it is a brief, formal note, written in a hand that is not their daughter's. Later, handwriting experts will confirm that all the replies were written by the same person, Sister Margaret Clark. It is Sister Teresa Donovan who finally gives voice to the terror that has paralyzed the others. Strong and pragmatic, raised on a farm where life and death were honest, brutal facts, she has no patience for the cloying deceptions. "It's the pretty ones," she whispers to Sister Mary Collins as they mend linens, their needles moving. In frantic silence. First Agnes, with her hair like spun gold, then Bernadette and her singing voice, and now Catherine, Ellen, and Josephine. All of them young, all of them beautiful. Does God only call the pretty ones to these special missions? Mary? Her voice is laced with a dangerous, cynical anger. Sister Mary, terrified, tries to quiet her, but it's too late. The walls have ears, and Mother Catherine's eyes are everywhere. Sister Teresa's defiance has sealed her fate. She has seen the pattern, and worse, she has spoken it aloud. She has become a threat to the machine. As they work in the convent's expanding garden one afternoon, she continues her litany of suspicion. "And have you noticed the garden, Mary?" She says, her voice low. "Sister Margaret's new herb garden behind that high fence? The one only she and Mother Catherine can enter? What herbs require such secrecy?" They are harvesting carrots, their fingers stained with the dark, rich soil. As Teresa speaks, a shadow falls over them. It is Sister Margaret, standing at the edge of the garden, her thin form silhouetted against the afternoon sun, her face an expressionless mask. She says, "Nothing but her presence is a clear and chilling warning. The very ground beneath their feet feels wrong, tainted." Sister Mary feels a primal urge to run, to flee this place of silent watchers and secret gardens. But where would she go? She is a bride of Christ, sworn to obedience, trapped in a wilderness thousands of miles from her home. The convent walls, once a symbol of sanctuary, now feel like the stones of a tomb being built around them, one disappearance at a time. The air itself is thick with unspoken secrets, and the faint, sweet, cloying smell of the herbs from Sister Margaret's forbidden garden. A week later, Sister Teresa Donovan is gone. The announcement at Matins is the most audacious lie yet. Contemplative retreat in Montreal, Mother Catherine declares. A special honor, granted only to the most spiritually advanced. The hypocrisy is breathtaking. Teresa, the most practical and least contemplative of them all, chosen for silent meditation. The other nuns keep their heads bowed, their faces, betraying nothing but a collective silent scream echoes in the chapel. For Sister Mary Collins, it is the final breaking point. The fear is no longer a paralyzing force. It has crystallized into a cold, desperate resolve. That evening, as she makes her bed, her trembling fingers discover a small, folded piece of paper tucked beneath her pillow. It is a page torn from Sister Teresa's prayer book, the one she carried with her always. On the margin, in Teresa's familiar, strong handwriting, is a hastily scrawled message, the ink slightly smeared. "Something is wrong. If I disappear, tell Father Ryan." The words are a ghost's cry, a final desperate plea from beyond the veil of deception. Sister Mary clutches the scrap of paper, the fragile hope it represents. Father Thomas Ryan, the young priest from the parish in town. He is their only chance. But how can she reach him? She is a prisoner, watched day and night. Her next move could be her last doubt. The atmosphere inside St. Mary's has become a living entity of fear. Of the 20 bright-eyed, hopeful young women who arrived with Sister Agnes, only 12 remain. They are no longer sisters in Christ. They are survivors, walking a tightrope of perfect obedience, praying they do not draw the attention of the 3 women who stalk the convent halls like priestesses of some dark, forgotten cult. Mother Catherine's rule is now that of a tyrant. She introduces a new ritual, the weekly confession of faults, a public humiliation where each nun is forced to confess her innermost sins and temptations before the entire community. These are not confessions of piety. They are instruments of psychological warfare. Sister Claire O'Donnell, a timid girl of 19, is discovered with a small piece of chocolate sent from her family. She is forced to kneel for an hour, confessing to the sins of gluttony, deception, and attachment to the material world. "You are unworthy to be a bride of Christ," Mother Catherine proclaims, her voice resonating in the silent chapel. Sister Claire is sentenced to a 3-day fast of only bread and water. On the second day, she faints from weakness during chapel prayers. As she falls, Sister Margaret rushes to her side, not with concern, but with a strange, thin smile on her lips as she revives her with smelling salts. It is a smile of satisfaction, the look of a scientist observing a successful experiment. One frozen January night in 1858, Sister Mary Collins is jolted from a restless sleep. A muffled sound is coming from the cell next to hers, the cell of Sister Rebecca Murphy. Through the thin stone wall, she can hear quiet sobbing, then the sharp, sibilant whisper of Mother Catherine's voice. "You will come with us now. Make a sound, and you will regret it for what little time you have left." Mary lies frozen in her cot, her heart a frantic drum against her ribs. She hears the creak of floorboards in the corridor, not one set of footsteps, but 3. Then comes a sound that will be burned into her memory forever, a soft, choked cry, quickly stifled, followed by the heavy, rhythmic thud and drag of a body being pulled, not walking, down the hall. The sound moves away towards the forbidden's north wing, and then there is only a profound and terrifying silence. Mary presses her face into her thin pillow to smother her own gasp of horror. She knows what she has heard. It is the sound of the machine harvesting another soul. The next morning, Mother Catherine's announcement is chilling in its casual cruelty. Sister Rebecca has been called to the Dakota Territory. Her patience with the orphans has prepared her for the holy work of instructing the native children. Her pale eyes sweep across the faces of the remaining nuns, lingering for a moment on Mary. It is not just a statement. It is a threat. The overheard sounds of Sister Rebecca's abduction shatter Sister Mary's remaining composure. She knows. She is running out of time. Her name, her defiance, her connection to Therese, it has all been noted. She is marked. That same afternoon, while assigned the task of sweeping the corridor outside Mother Catherine's office. Her fear gives way to a desperate, reckless courage. The heavy oak door is ajar, just a crack, and from within she hears voices. It is Sister Elizabeth, her usually gentle tone now cold and calculating. The doctor says this one will fetch a higher price. The innocent ones always do. A clinking of glass suggests Sister Margaret is at work. We need to be more careful. Margaret replies, her voice precise and clipped. 3 in 1 month is risky. The bishop's secretary is asking questions. Then, a dismissive laugh from Mother Catherine, a sound devoid of all warmth. The bishop is a fool. A donation to his precious cathedral fund will quiet his conscience. What about the Collins girl? Sister Margaret asks. She watches too much. I've seen her listening. A long, terrible silence hangs in the air, a silence in which Mary's heart stops beating. She can feel their unseen eyes on her, even through the door. We wait, Mother Catherine says finally. She's too plain to be of much value. And her brother is in the seminary. It would draw the wrong kind of attention. Rebecca will satisfy the doctor's clients for now. Sister Mary flees, the words burning in her mind. Doctor, clients, price. It is not a mission. It is a transaction. The pieces of the puzzle click into place, forming a picture of unimaginable evil. The missing nuns, always the youngest and prettiest. The secret visits from wealthy, well-dressed benefactors who toured the grounds with Mother Catherine. The unexplained sounds from the locked north wing. The sudden, inexplicable wealth of the convent. It is a business. A trade in human flesh, sanctified by the cross and hidden behind the vows of poverty and chastity. Sister Rebecca was not sent to the Dakotas. She was sold. That night, Sister Mary does not sleep. She prays not for deliverance, but for courage. The next morning, during her weekly duty collecting eggs from the chicken coop, the one task that takes her briefly out of sight of the main building, she makes her move. Jimmy Fletcher, the 12-year-old son of a local farmer, arrives with the morning milk delivery. As he passes, Mary, her hands trembling, slips the note she has written. The note Teresa entrusted to her into the boy's coat pocket. She presses. Her small silver confirmation cross into his hand. It is the only thing of value she owns. Please, she whispers, her voice urgent and low, give this to Father Thomas Ryan at St. Joseph's. Tell no one. Lives depend on it. The boy's eyes widen. He has seen the fear in the nuns' faces before, but this is different. This is terror. He nods, his face suddenly old with the gravity of the secret he now carries. He is her messenger, her fragile, desperate lifeline to the outside world. Father Thomas Ryan is a young priest, but not a naive one. During his monthly visits to offer Mass at St. Mary's, he has felt the chill in the air, noticed the dwindling number of nuns, and found Mother Catherine's explanations for their transfers to be hollow and evasive. But he is a subordinate, with limited power to challenge a Mother Superior appointed by the bishop. When young Jimmy Fletcher arrives at the parish house, breathless and wide-eyed, pressing a crumpled note and a small silver cross into his hand, Father Ryan's vague. Suspicions ignite into full-blown alarm. He reads the note, its message a stark cry for help. Something evil happens at St. Mary's. Nuns disappearing, not sent away as claimed. I fear for my life. Please send help. Sister Mary Collins. The silver cross feels heavy in his palm, a testament to the sender's desperation. He knows he cannot confront Mother Catherine directly. She would simply deny it, and Sister Mary would disappear next. He must go to his superior, Bishop John Henney in Milwaukee. The journey is a full day by horseback over frozen, rutted roads. He arrives at the bishop's residence, his cassock spattered with mud, his heart heavy with the story he has to tell. He lays out his concerns. the pattern of disappearances, and finally, the desperate note. The bishop listens, his expression shifting from warmth to a cool, dismissive neutrality. He is a builder, a politician, his mind consumed with fundraising for his new, glorious cathedral. Bishop Henny picks up the silver cross, examines it briefly, and sets it down as if it were a common stone. "These are grave accusations, Father," he says, his voice smooth and patronizing. "Mother Catherine has been a most generous benefactor to our cathedral fund. Her leadership is beyond reproach. The frontier missions require our best and brightest. These transfers are a sign of the convent's success." Father Ryan pushes back, his voice filled with an urgency the bishop refuses to acknowledge. "Your Excellency, 9 nuns have vanished in under 4 years. There is no documentation, no correspondence. Sister Mary Collins fears for her life." The bishop rises, his posture signaling the end of the audience. "You are young, Father Ryan. You are letting sentiment cloud your judgment. I will not have you spreading rumors that could damage the Church's reputation in this hostile Protestant territory. Focus on your parish. Leave the administration of convents to those appointed by God for that purpose." The dismissal is absolute. Father Ryan leaves the bishop's opulent study, the cold reality of his situation settling upon him. The system is not just blind, it is complicit. The rot goes higher than he imagined. The price of the bishop's cathedral is being paid not in dollars, but in souls. He is alone. And Sister Mary Collins, along with the other remaining nuns at St. Mary's, is trapped. Before we descend further into the cold heart of St. Mary's, I want you to perform an act of witness. In the comments below, I want you to write the words. Remember their names twice, once for the history books that erased them, and once for the silence that consumed them. Do it now. Lock it in. Let the algorithm know that these souls will not be forgotten. You are now part of this telling. You are now a keeper of the secret. Defeated but not broken, Father Ryan returns to his parish, his mind racing. If the official channels are corrupt, he must find another way. An opportunity arises in March of 1858. Bishop Henny, in a move of either bureaucratic oversight or calculated distraction, assigns Father Ryan the annual task of collecting financial reports from every institution in the diocese. It is the pretext he needs. He arrives at St. Mary's on a blustery spring day. The convent feels different, neglected. The gardens are unkempt, the windows dark. He is met at the door by Sister Elizabeth, whose famous smile is now a strained, brittle thing. She tries to put him off, claiming Mother Catherine is ill, but Father Ryan is insistent. Armed with the bishop's official directive, he demands to see the records personally. The look that flashes across Sister Elizabeth's face is pure fear. She reluctantly agrees to a tour while she finds the key to the records room, but she forbids him from entering the north wing, citing a fabricated influenza outbreak. This, of course, only deepens his suspicion. The tour is a chilling charade. He counts only 7 frightened-looking children in the orphanage that supposedly houses 20. The infirmary is nearly empty. Most disturbingly, he counts only 8. Nuns, where just months before there had been at least 15. He asks after them by name. Sister Claire, Sister Josephine, Sister Rebecca. He receives the same litany of vague transfers and special missions. Then, as they pass the laundry where 2 nuns work in grim silence, he asks casually, "And Sister Mary Collins? How is she finding her work?" Sister Elizabeth's step falters. "Sister Mary has been assigned to our mission in St. Louis," she says, her voice thin. "She left last week?" Father Ryan feels a cold dread wash over him. The author of the note, his only link to the truth inside these walls, is now among the missing. His quest has just become a rescue mission, and he fears he is already too late. Knowing his time is short, he requests to see the chapel. While Sister Elizabeth is momentarily distracted by a novice, he slips through a side door into the forbidden residential wing. The corridor is deathly silent. Cell after cell stands empty, stripped of all personal effects. As he turns to leave, a sound catches his ear, a faint whimper, coming from behind a heavy wooden door at the far end of the hall. Unlike the others, this door is secured with a heavy iron lock. He approaches cautiously. The sound comes again, a woman's voice, hoarse with despair. "Is someone there?" He whispers through the keyhole. A pause, then a desperate, frantic reply. "Father, is that you? Please, help us, please." Before he can answer, a voice slices through the air behind him, cold and sharp as splintered ice. "Father Ryan, this area is strictly cloistered. You do not belong here." He turns to see Mother Catherine, flanked by Sister Margaret and a large, brutish man in laborer's clothes. Mother Catherine looks haggard, but her eyes burn with an intensified, feverish authority. Father Ryan, struggling to keep his voice steady, claims he got lost. "I heard someone crying for help," he counters, his courage returning. "Sister." Margaret steps forward, her thin lips curving into a semblance of a smile. "You heard one of the sisters practicing mortification of the flesh, Father. Their cries of devotion can be alarming to the uninitiated. The lie is so perverse, so blasphemous, it leaves him momentarily speechless." Mother Catherine nods to the burly man. "Mr. Callahan will see you out." The man, Callahan, grabs Father Ryan's arm in a grip of iron, his knuckles white. As he is forcefully escorted from the convent, Father Ryan realizes the full, horrifying truth. The whimpering voice had said, "Help us." Plural. There is more than one prisoner behind that door. This is not just a corrupt convent. It is a dungeon. The moment his buggy clears the gates of St. Mary's, Father Ryan whips his horse into a desperate gallop. The locked door, the desperate voice, the menacing presence of Callahan, it all points to a horror far worse than he had imagined. He cannot go back to Bishop Henny. The bishop is part of the disease. He rides through the night, not to Milwaukee, but to the telegraph office in the next town. He sends a message directly to the highest authority he can reach, Archbishop John. Hughes in New York, a man known for his iron will and intolerance for scandal within his ranks. The telegram is a desperate plea, a litany of his fears. Grave concerns regarding Street, Mary's Convent, Wisconsin. Suspicious. Disappearances of multiple nuns. Evidence of imprisonment. Possible danger to remaining sisters. Request. Immediate diocesan investigation. Local bishop unresponsive. Father. Thomas Ryan. He has thrown his stone at the Goliath of the church hierarchy. Now, all he can do is pray it hits its mark. He has signed his name to an accusation that could end his career or his life. But he can still hear the voice from behind the locked door. Help us. He will not fail them again. Archbishop Hughes, a man who understands that rot, left unchecked, can bring down an entire structure, acts with swift and decisive force. Bypassing Bishop Henny entirely, he dispatches his personal secretary, the formidable Monsignor Patrick Kelly, to conduct a surprise inspection. On April 17, 1858, a carriage carrying Monsignor Kelly, Father Ryan, and 2 senior priests arrives unannounced at the gates of St. Mary's. The convent is in a state of barely concealed panic. Through an open window, Father Ryan sees nuns frantically carrying stacks of paper towards the kitchen stove, and the acrid smell of burning documents hangs in the air. Mother Catherine meets them at the door, her composure shattered, her face flushed with fury. "This is highly irregular, Monsignor," she protests. "Bishop Henny always sends word." Monsignor Kelly, a stern, silver-haired man who has seen the worst of humanity, cuts her off. "Which is precisely why I'm here without his knowledge," he says, his voice cold as a tombstone. "I have a letter from the Archbishop authorizing a complete inspection of this institution, its records, and all its residents. I trust you will cooperate." Mother Catherine's eyes dart to Sister Margaret, who lurks in a nearby doorway. A silent, frantic communication passes between them. The game is over, and they both know it. The confrontation escalates at the entrance to the north wing. Sister Elizabeth stands as a sentinel, her arms spread, her maternal facade now a mask of desperate obstruction. "You cannot enter here, Monseigneur." The sisters are in spiritual retreat. Monsignor Kelly looks at her, not with anger, but with a weary sadness. "Sister," he says, his voice gentle but firm, "I speak with the authority of the Archbishop. Stand aside, or I will be forced to hold you in violation of your sacred vow of obedience." Sister Elizabeth's composure finally cracks. "You don't understand," she whispers, her eyes darting towards the windows as if expecting some dark savior to appear. "He will be most displeased." "He?" Father Ryan asks. "The bishop?" She just shakes her head, a silent, terrified tear tracing a path through the grime on her cheek. With a final shuddering sob, she steps away from the corridor. The locked door stands before them. Monsignor Kelly turns to Mother Catherine. "Open it, now." With trembling hands, Mother Catherine produces a key from a hidden pocket in her habit. The lock groans, the heavy door swings inward, and the light of day spills into a scene from hell itself. The room is a small, windowless storage space, thick with the stench of human waste and despair. On thin, filthy pallets on the floor are 5 women. They are skeletal, their habits torn and soiled, their faces gaunt, their eyes wide with a mixture of terror and a dawning, unbelievable hope. Father Ryan recognizes Sister Rebecca Murphy, but she is a ghost of the vibrant woman he once knew. One of the other women, her belly swollen in late-stage pregnancy against her emaciated frame, is Sister Josephine Brady. The sight is so horrific that one of the visiting priests turns and retches in the hallway. Monsignor Kelly, his face pale, makes the sign of the cross. "In the name of all that is holy," he whispers. Sister Rebecca struggles to her feet, her voice a dry, cracking whisper. "Father Ryan, you came back." She clings to his arm, her touch as light as a dead leaf. "They were preparing us," she rasps, her eyes fixed on something far away. "For the doctor, for the house in Chicago." Monsignor Kelly kneels beside her. "What doctor, my child? What house?" "Dr. Matthews," she says, the name a curse on her lips. "He examines us to see which of us are suitable. The men pay more for nuns, for brides of Christ." As the rescued nuns are tended to, the rest of the investigation team uncovers the machinery of the entire operation. In Sister Margaret's private laboratory, hidden behind a false wall in the infirmary, they find not just herbs, but laudanum, chloroform, and other potent drugs. Her private journal is not a record of healing, but a clinical logbook detailing the drugging, conditioning, and suitability for transport of various nuns. Simultaneously, another priest, poring over the convent's financial records, discovers the truth behind its mysterious wealth. The ledgers are a horrifying testament to their crimes, with coded entries that correspond to each disappearance. Transferred Agnes O'Connor, May 1855. Commission, $400. Package delivered to Chicago establishment. Condition, excellent. The entries are chilling in their banality. But another entry, dated November 1856, reveals a darker outcome for those who fought back. S. Teresa Donovan. Unsuitable for transfer due to resistance. Terminated. No commission. Terminated. The word hangs in the air of the small office, a sterile corporate term for murder. Father Ryan now knows the fate of the brave nun who sent him the note. She was not sent to a retreat. She was executed for her defiance. Through the fractured, terrified testimonies of the rescued women, Monsignor Kelly pieces together the full monstrous truth. Catherine, Elizabeth, and Margaret were not nuns at all. They were impostors, predators, who had hijacked the identities of real religious women years ago. The original mother, Catherine Murphy, had died of a sudden, violent illness shortly after arriving in Wisconsin, poisoned, it turned out, by Sister Margaret. With the true leader dead, the three impostors took control, establishing a sophisticated human trafficking ring under the protection of the church itself. They catered to a secret clientele of wealthy, powerful men from Chicago, Milwaukee, and St. Louis men with a specific, blasphemous fetish for defiling consecrated virgins. These benefactors would visit the convent at night, paying premium prices to violate the nuns, often while they were drugged and forced to wear their habits. The North Wing was not a place of retreat. It was a torture chamber and a showroom. The orphanage was not a sanctuary. It was a secondary source of victims, with older girls being adopted by the same network of clients. The most horrific revelations concerned those who resisted. Sister Teresa Donovan was not the only one terminated. Her story, as told by Sister Claire O'Donnell, one of the women from the locked room, is a testament to both human evil and human endurance. Teresa was held for weeks, repeatedly. Assaulted, yet her spirit never broke. Finally, Mother Catherine ordered her death. She made us watch, Sister Claire whispers, her body racked with tremors. She said it was a lesson in obedience. She describes how the man Callahan strangled Teresa with a rope in the convent's vegetable garden. She was praying. Claire sobs. She was praying the rosary until the very end. Her last breath was a prayer. At least 3 other nuns who resisted met the same fate. Their bodies were buried in unmarked graves among the bean rows and potato plants, their consecrated ground turned into a profane cemetery. As evening falls on this day of horror, Monsignor Kelly orders the immediate closure of St. Mary's. The surviving nuns are removed to safety. Mother Catherine, Sister Elizabeth, and Sister Margaret are placed under ecclesiastical arrest, confined to their cells until the civil authorities can arrive. The long night of St. Mary's is finally over. Or so it seems. The Church's attempt to quietly manage the scandal unravels almost immediately. During the night, while under guard, Mother Catherine and Sister Margaret vanish from their locked cells. There is no sign of forced entry. It is as if they simply dissolved into the shadows using secret passages built into the old mansion, escape routes planned long ago. Only Sister Elizabeth remains, found kneeling in the chapel, her mind shattered, staring into space in a state of catatonic shock. The enforcer, Callahan, who had been away, returns, finds the convent under guard, and flees to Chicago, warning his associates. By the time sheriffs arrive with warrants, the ringleaders are gone, and the powerful men they served have been alerted. The civil investigation that follows uncovers the staggering scale of the operation ledgers detailing over $100,000 in transactions, the names of 23 nuns and 17 orphans who were trafficked, and correspondence with brothels across the Midwest. The most damning evidence is a small notebook found sewn into Sister Elizabeth's mattress, a diary of depravity detailing the fate of each victim. It is in this notebook that a new, terrifying figure emerges. In her catatonic state, Elizabeth would scream at night, not about Catherine or Margaret, but about someone she called the Master coming to punish her for her failure. Who this Master was, a high-ranking accomplice, a hidden leader, or something else entirely, is a question that will never be answered. The system that enabled the horror now moves to protect itself. The investigation into the brothels in Chicago and St. Louis collapses. Powerful names in the ledgers, judges, politicians, businessmen are protected. Witnesses recant their testimony. Evidence is lost, and the cases are quietly dismissed. When Monsignor Kelly travels to St. Louis to pursue the investigation, he is savagely beaten by unknown assailants and warned to stop. The message is clear. The truth will be buried. Bishop Henney is quietly removed to a monastery in Europe. His complicity reframed as administrative failings. The convent itself is demolished, the ground salted and sold, its history erased from the land. The 4 murdered nuns found in the garden are reburied without ceremony or marker. Their graves eventually lost to new construction. The surviving nuns are scattered to different convents across the country, each forced to sign a vow of absolute silence, threatened with excommunication if they ever speak of what happened at St. Mary's. They are victims, silenced to protect the reputation of the institution that failed them. The cruelest fate is reserved for the most innocent. Sister Josephine Brady, rescued from the locked room while pregnant, gives birth to a healthy baby girl 2 months later. Despite her desperate pleas to keep her child, the one good thing to emerge from her suffering church authorities sees the infant. The baby is given to a Catholic family in Pennsylvania, her origins hidden forever. The loss is too much for Josephine to bear. Stripped of her faith, her sisters, and now her child, she takes her own life in 1861. Her final note is a testament to the depth of her despair, a cry against the machine that consumed her body and soul. It reads simply, "I cannot forget. I cannot forgive. Not them, not the church, not myself. May God have mercy on us all." Her story is the emotional heart of the tragedy, a life not just taken, but utterly and systematically destroyed, first by the predators of St. Mary's, and then by the cold, institutional pragmatism of the church itself. Her cry is the echo that haunts the entire affair, a reminder that the true cost of this evil was measured in shattered lives and unforgivable betrayals. For decades, the story of St. Mary's exists only in whispers, in sealed archives, and in the nightmares of the survivors. The official history is a blank page. The church, the state, the powerful men who patronize the evil all conspire in a pact of silence. Father Thomas Ryan, the hero of the story, is reassigned to a remote parish in the frozen north. His career effectively ended for the crime of exposing the truth. His private journal, found after his death, is a chronicle of a soul haunted by what he witnessed. "I cannot forget the faces of those poor women," he writes. "I wonder about those we could not save. Has God forgiven us for failing them? Has he forgiven the church for silencing their voices?" His final entry, dated 1886, is a plea to the future, a message in a bottle cast into the sea of time. They were real women with real souls, and they suffered real horrors. If the church will not speak for them, then I pray that someday someone will find this account and remember them. Remember Sister Agnes, Sister Bernadette, Sister Teresa, and all the others whose names deserve to be spoken. The erasure was almost perfect, but memory is a stubborn ghost. This is the truth you are never meant to hear. The evil of St. Mary's was not just the work of 3 monstrous women. It was a cancer that grew in the dark, nourished by a system that valued silence over justice, reputation over righteousness, and obedience over truth. The locked room in the north wing was not an anomaly. It was the logical conclusion of an institution that demanded unquestioning authority. Today, the land where the convent stood is covered by suburban development. Families live there, unaware of the profane history beneath their feet. But the story did not die. In 2018, during construction, workers unearthed a small rusted metal box. Inside was a rosary, a folded piece of a nun's veil, and a handwritten list of 23 names. At the bottom of the list were 2 words, a final desperate message. From the past, an instruction for us, right here, right now. It read, "Remember us. You have now heard their story. You have been given the key. You cannot unhear the screams. You cannot unsee the darkness. The silence has been broken. The responsibility to remember is now yours."